video, I am going to be taking my model from a dark brown virgin hair into a deep red, beautiful Merlot color with a little extra twist. So let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie Dana and I am here to support you on your hair journey. So today I have a model and it has been a while since she has colored her hair, and we're gonna do a really fun transformation. Now, this video is perfect for you if you struggle with doing red colors, all over colors, or are looking to do something a little bit more fun with your all over color clients. I'm also going to share with you the consultation and some tips for doing that, as well as formulation. So if you need help in any of those areas, today's video is for you. So let's go get started. All right, so here is our before, and as you can see, it has been a little while since she has gotten her color done. The last thing she did was she got a few highlights, which now look like a balayage. So what we're gonna be doing is we are gonna be covering up her beautiful grays here and bringing in a lot more of that cherry cola red color. I am so excited to do this transformation. Let's get started. Okay, so before we jump on in, I thought it would be good to kind of chat through some of the photos that you had sent me as your inspiration. So obviously today we're going to be covering the gray and making it a little brighter. I noticed that you have some highlights in here. Can you tell me, when was the last time you colored your hair?
So I believe I colored my hair because I'm obviously not good at upkeeping it.
Sure.
I think it was like at least a year ago.
Okay.
Is when I got it done.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then did you cover up any grays in between, or has it literally been like the last time you put color in your hair was like a long time ago?
The last time I colored my hair.
Okay, good to know. It's just helpful for me to understand your hair history and what you've done to it,
Right.
because the color that I could put on it could affect what we do just based off of your hair history. So, okay, cool. So let me pull up the photos that you had showed me. Okay, so these are some of the photos that you had sent me, and what I noticed in all of them was it's definitely has a red undertone, but some of them feel a little bit more bright than others. So I'm curious, out of all of these ones, which ones you were more drawn to, because they're just a little bit different.
I was more drawn to like the first one and that last one because it was so vibrant, but I wasn't sure what was going to be best complementary for my skin tone.
Sure.
And like just the health of my hair and my upkeep, because like as I know,
Yeah.
like I don't get my hair done that often.
Yeah, I got it.
So
Okay.
whatever is like best for me to upkeep.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things, the more bright we go with something like this, or even something like this, you're definitely going to have a lot more regrowth at the root, because your natural color is more of a natural, like brown, versus that you're going to see like red roots growing out. So I think we want to avoid anything that's too bright up at the roots. And as far as upkeep goes, the more vibrant you go, the more it's going to fade out. So if you're not somebody that's going to want to get it done every 6 to 8 weeks, or like want to like refresh it and do the roots and all of that, then we probably should stick to something a little bit more natural. But one of the things that I noticed was in like this photo and in this one, it has almost like ribbons of color. Now, is that something like, do you want to see dimension in the color too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I want my hair to look like there has depth in it.
Cool.
Basically, I want it to be multi-dimensional, so that would be, because I braid my hair a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want that to like pop through.
Sure.
And then when I blow it out, it also looks
Like you get to see those pieces.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
cool. So I think that because of that, we can bring in some more brightness in with those like ribbon kind of pieces without doing the overall bright type of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it a little bit deeper at the root. You can even see in sometimes some of these photos, it's a little darker at the root and then a little lighter towards the ends. Mm-hmm. That'll give us some more dimension, but we'll also add in some fun ribbons of color to have a fun pop in there. But yeah, I think for you, low maintenance is important, and also just having some fun with your color. So yeah, awesome. Sounds good. I'm gonna go mix up.
Yay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna mix up her formula, and the way that I'm thinking about this color is I'm actually thinking in 3 different formulas. So I'm actually gonna create one formula for her root area because I want it to be a little bit deeper to match her natural color. And because we're doing reds, as you know, sometimes reds can pull up what we call hot roots, where it actually gets a little brighter at the root because the heat from the scalp makes it develop a little bit more, and it actually can be a little brighter at the scalp because it's a red color. So we want to make sure to avoid that. So I'm going to go a 1 level darker for her root area than the rest of the other formulas. Then, because she wants to do some ribbons and pops of color, I'm going to do just a couple thick foils of almost like peekaboo highlights underneath. So that's going to be another formula that's a little brighter, a little bit more fun. And then for the rest of her mid-lengths to ends, we're going to do another formula. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mix up her root color first, and then we'll go apply that, and then we'll come back and mix up the other formulas. Now, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to formulating a color like this, sometimes what I like to do is I go in the back room and sometimes I'm just trying to think through what color do I want to do. So what I literally will do is I will grab a note card and a pen, and this is how my brain works. Sometimes I just need to look at the color book, look at the colors that I have in my cabinet, and I will start to jot down, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and start to map it out here on a color card. And it just makes it a lot easier because when you're formulating 3 different things, that can become a lot to start to remember. So if I have it all jotted down, then I have my map, my plan going forward for the rest of the appointment, and then when I come back to remix, or if I need to add in another formula, I already have it ready to go. So I don't have to think twice. So that is a little tip that I use quite often. So let's mix up her roots and then we'll get applying. Okay, so for her roots, I am going to be mixing up 5R in Goldwell Top Chic and 20 Volume. Now, I actually don't have 5R in my cabinet, but I luckily have a 4R and a 6R, so we're gonna do equal parts of those. That'll result in a 5R. So I'm going to mix up about 40 mils, 20 Volume of my developer, and then 20 mils each of 4R and 6R. Okay, so before we start her color application, I always make sure that I'm draping my clients really well because we are going to be doing a red and dark color, and I want to make sure that we're protecting their clothes and not making a mess. So I always drape a towel around the neck and do a little clip, and then I'm also going to use the Dye Defender from Framar. I love this product, so I'll just apply a little bit right here on my glove, and then I'll go in and apply it to her skin. Okay, so I'm just gonna apply right here on her skin, and I always try to get the little baby hairs out of the way, and then I'll just continue down and around the hairline, and I do like to put it just a little bit on the ears and down through this back hairline too, because nobody wants staining back there either. So this just helps protect their skin, and it makes it a lot easier when it comes to removing the color at the shampoo bowl. Okay, so we're gonna go in and start applying the color just to the root area. So I usually like to just get a little bit of color on my brush here, and I'll go ahead and section, usually just down the middle of the head. And I don't pre-section for any root touch-ups like this. I just go right in. I don't think I need to waste time sectioning, so I'll just go right in. Now, one thing when you are doing any root touch-up, whether it's a gray root touch-up and the client's coming in just to cover their grays, or we're doing kind of an all-over color like this, is we do want to make sure that we are fully saturating the roots. So you'll see that every single time I go in, I'm not just applying it to the section that I laid down, but as I section it over, I'm also applying it again, just to make sure that I got it really, really saturated, especially when clients have grays up here in the front. We got to make sure that we saturate it, because nothing's worse than a client coming in to get their grays covered and the grays did not get covered. So we always want to make sure to fully saturate. And when in doubt, use a little bit more color. I find that when I'm doing a client's roots that I use a little bit more color than what I even use on the ends. And it's because I'm just making sure to really fully saturate it. So I'm going to go down through this side, and then I'll go back to the front. We'll flip all that hair over and we'll go down the other side, and then we'll get down to the back. Okay, so then when I get around to this bottom section, I always make sure to get that hairline, especially all of these little baby hairs. So as I'm finishing up this section, I'll get that hairline. I think a lot of times what happens when we're doing gray touch-ups, and I've seen this in the past, where you skip some of these little baby hairs, and not only are they not getting colored, but they're not getting that gray covered. So I always like to just take a little bit more color on my brush. You can see I just have a tiny bit there, and then I really pack in that color to make sure that it's really, really saturated. Then before I move on to the other side, I do like to get the hairline back here, just behind the ear. To me, it's just a nice little way to cover it, make sure that we're getting it, and make sure that we're getting back here behind the ear, all of that stuff. Then I'll just take my brush and pull it down, nothing too crazy, and then we'll head over to the other side. So before I move on to the back, I always like to resaturate, again, especially some of these little wiry baby hairs. Sometimes, you know, you'll have clients that have kind of coarse baby hairs. You can see even these ones wanting to poke out. So I just kind of resaturate those, and I'll go in with my towel right here and just clean up anything along the hairline right now, just to prevent as much staining as possible. Like I said, this is a red hair color, so chances are we are gonna have a little staining, but the cleaner you can be when you are applying color, it's going to just be so much easier when you go to take it off. And also, no client wants to sit there with color dripping down their face or having it look all splotchy. So clean it up before you move on, and then we'll get on to the back. Okay, so now that we've gotten to the back, I always like to section out and kind of just even re-saturate again. So now I know the front from the back and what we've done already. So I'll just kind of do a quick little section there, clean that out, and just kind of go along the line that I just created. Then I'll start here at the top, resaturate. Like I said, when in doubt, saturate, 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 especially if you are a newer stylist or you don't do a lot of gray root touch-ups. It is really important that we get those roots saturated. And probably by the end of this video, you're gonna say, okay, Jamie, I got it, but it's important. You don't wanna have holes or any spots where you're like, oh, that wasn't saturated enough. I would rather use a little bit more color than get to the end of the service and be like, oh shoot, we didn't cover that gray or whatever. So I usually do diagonal back sections as I work down the hair, work down the head until we get down to the very bottom. And we're just finishing up this little hairline here. Getting in all these little baby hairs too. And I had just the perfect amount of color right there. Don't you love when that happens? When you mix up the exact amount. It's the best. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull these big long hairs down. I always apologize to my clients, especially clients that have long hair, for getting it in their face for just a few minutes. But now we'll finish up. And if this was just a root touch-up or gray cover service, then we would be done. We would let the client process and we would be finished. But this is not just a gray root touch-up service. So I'm gonna go mix up our next formula. Come on back with me. Okay, so now I'm gonna be mixing up the formula for her color blocking panels that we're gonna do. And I'm really excited to do this because, especially in redheads, sometimes we can lose dimension, and she really wants to be able to see those ribbons of color, especially when she braids her hair. So we're gonna be doing kind of a color blocking technique. So I'm gonna be mixing up this formula specifically for this, just a little bit brighter than what the rest of her mid-lengths and ends are gonna be. So for this formula, I'm actually going to do 25 volume developer just to get a little bit more pop in there versus it just being 20 volume. I want a little bit more lift through those ribbons. So I'm going to be mixing equal parts 30 volume and 20 volume. And then I'm gonna do the majority of our formula of Goldwell Top Chic 6RV. This is their Max line, so I really like it because it's going to give me that bold piece of color, but I want it to be a little bit more bold than just that. So I'm also going to throw in just a quarter of my formula as the RR mix. This is just going to make it a little bit more bold. Ooh, you can see it even coming out of the tube. It's just a little darker. So that's going to be our formula here. Mostly 6RV, a little bit of that RR mix. Now, anytime you're using any sort of mix in, sometimes in permanent color lines, that can be a little trickier to mix in. So I actually spent a good minute here really mixing in this color so that there's not any chunks of that RR mix in there, because as we apply it, we want to make sure that it's really mixed in there and there's not like a hollow spot or anything like that. So just keep that in mind when you're using mix-ins to really spend your time mixing it up properly. All right, let's go apply this. Okay, so for these panel pieces, I really want her to see it when she has her hair forward. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 2 diagonal back sections right here underneath her part. So we're gonna do one right here. Now I'm gonna keep it off the hairline because I don't want it to show up, when she's growing it out, but I do want her to be able to see it when she does wear her hair up. So we're gonna do this section here. And I got some long foils for this because, as you can see, this is a pretty thick section here. So I just grabbed from Framar's roll foils. I'll put this in here. You could use any long foil, but what we're gonna do is just gonna apply this here. Now I've already applied the roots, so I don't have to do that. But we're just gonna apply it down through the mid-lengths and ends. And because this is a thicker piece, keep in mind again to what? Saturate it. Yes, we want to make sure that it's saturated through here as well. I personally love the Framar Big Daddy brushes because it helps me get that hair, get it really saturated, and just make it really easy for me to get the color in there. So now that I have this hair done, I'm just going to fold it up and we'll keep it like that. It's a long foil. We could even lock it into place a little bit here on the corner, just so it doesn't go anywhere or slip down. And I'm gonna do another one right here. You could do back-to-back foils if you want, but I'm gonna just add a little bit more space in between it. Again, this is where she parts her hair, so we're kind of going in underneath that part. And I'm doing another big piece right here. The fun thing about doing color blocking like this is I can just visually see, okay, I want the hair to lay here, so this is where I want that piece to be. You know, you can almost take even your foil and say, okay, if this were to lay down, where's that hair gonna drape down? So color blocking is fun because it's a little more freeform. It doesn't feel as, intense or have to be as strict as maybe balayage services do. So I think that this is a great technique to try out on clients and maybe just have kind of a one all over color like a redhead, or somebody that has maybe just some brown. You can add in a slightly different formula to give them a little bit more dimension throughout their lengths. All right, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side of her head. Okay, so we just did the 2 sides. I've got my 2 diagonal backs. Those are gonna lay forward, but we obviously wanna still have some ribbons here in the back as well. But because she's got thick hair, but we don't necessarily need dimension all throughout. This isn't a full balayage. This is just kind of an addition to her color. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take kind of a triangle section here out of the top. And I will clip that away. And I'm gonna do another panel going down this way and another panel going down that way.
might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too. You might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too.
Okay, so I finished her back panels and I have a little extra leftover color, so I decided let's throw in one more. Now, I did ask her, does your hair part in the back? Because some clients' hair can part in the back, and if we did this panel right here, it's gonna show right where their hairline parts. So for a client that maybe has a scalp that parts naturally, has a cowlick there, I probably wouldn't do this particular pattern, but for her, she assured me that it doesn't. So I'm basically just gonna do one more panel piece right here just to give her one more pop, because I think it's gonna be so fun. And why not? We have that extra color, might as well use it. So now that we're done with all of her panel pieces, we're gonna go mix up her rest of her color, the in-between color, mid-lengths to ends. This is our last formula, so let's go mix up. So for this last formula, I'm going to be mixing up permanent color. And you might be thinking to yourself, why would you use permanent when you could use a demi? So the reason is because through her mid-lengths and ends, I still want to get a little bit of lift in that natural color. If we just did a demi, we would only be depositing and we might not get that brightness that I'm looking for. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is she actually does have some grays through her lengths. Now, if we just did demi, it would only deposit and you would still see some of those grays popping through. We want those to be fully covered, so that's why we're going to do permanent color. I am going to go in with 20 volume, so let's actually mix up. All right, so I'm going to do 20 volume and I'm going to do 3/4 6 RR. This is also a max color, and 1/4 5 RR. I still want some 5 in there. I know I said that I was going to have the roots be about 1 level darker, but I still want a little bit of depth in the ends. We don't want it to be super crazy bright, and the RRs can sometimes pull a little bright. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is, because we have these panels in there, sometimes the application can feel a little messy or it can feel complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated, so just break it down. So all I'm doing is lifting up the hair and starting the placement from the bottom, and we're gonna work our way up. Oftentimes we'll start at the top and work our way down, and then it becomes a mess. So I'm gonna start in this back section here, and if you ever get overwhelmed with trying to figure out your sectioning, just think about the head in quadrants. So I like to think of, we got the right side, we've got the left side, and we've got the back, and then it makes it really simple for us. So I'm just gonna take this hair, kind of section it out, front to the back, and break it up easily from there. Now, because I've been doing hair for a while, sometimes I can work without clips. I just know that if I pull the hair like this, I can section it away. It's out of the way. I know that I'm gonna saturate everything, but if you struggle with that, or again, if it feels overwhelming, just take a little clip and clip it up out of the way. It's better to work in clean sections than it is to feel like you're struggling to get the hair out of the way, or not getting certain sections, missing certain sections. So I like to apply my color with a brush, and her hair is long. That's another reason why I always start with a towel on the client's neck. I sometimes like to just fold the hair up like that to kind of get it out of the way. Use our clip here. So just start by applying there and kind of working my way down to these baby ends. Again, making sure to fully saturate down on those ends. We'll kind of twist this hair up in here just so it's not hanging down below her back. And we'll continue up this section here. Now, as we work our way up the head, her hair is going to get thicker. And sometimes when we have thicker spots, it can sometimes feel harder to saturate, or maybe we're not sure if we saturated enough. So I actually like to use a comb like this. I have this linked in my Amazon storefront. But the reason why I like a wide tooth comb like this is because it has a little roller in here. And so what it does is it rolls through the color. It doesn't drag the color down and pull the color out of the hair. So if you are going to use it, I definitely recommend a comb like this. You can see as I'm just combing it through, it's making sure that we're getting it fully saturated all the way through those ends. Sometimes too, I can marry a section together and comb it through. And again, now I know I got it really saturated and we don't have any hollow spots in the hair. So now, because this section is underneath, I am just going to clip it up because under these foils, I want to make sure that it doesn't drag on her back or, you know, stain her clothes or anything like that. So we're just going to do a nice little clip here. You could also braid it if you'd like. We'll drag this foil down, we'll take it down and work on that in between section. So again, just working in quadrants. It doesn't have to feel overly complicated. It doesn't have to feel overly messy. The cleaner you are as you work, the better it's going to be. So you're not getting color all over the place. Now with the big section like this, you did see that I split it into two to apply the color at the top because her hair's thicker up here. But as we get down to the ends, her hair's a little bit more fine. And we are going to do a trim on her hair, but it's a little bit more fine. So I married those two sections together to apply the color to the ends. It just makes it sometimes easier, a little faster to work that way of do the thick parts separate and then marry it at the bottom. And then we'll do our comb through, like just once, twice. And the more you do color applications like this, you're gonna get used to feeling the consistency of when it's saturated and when it has enough color versus, oh, you know what, we actually need to add a little bit more color, or oh, we need to work that color through a little bit. So yeah, you'll just get used to it the more you do it. And we're gonna do the same thing on the sides. So again, we're just gonna start from the bottom, work our way up, and it's gonna make it a lot easier than trying to work top down.
You might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too. You might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too.
So one of the things that I always find so interesting, you'll see when I'm applying the color and even in the bowl that the color is pretty red, right? It looks red. It almost looks like it's starting to turn like ketchup color. And as a client, your client might think, oh my goodness, what is this stylist putting on my hair? Especially when you have any colors that have mix-ins or kind of like that VV or RR Max type of colors, a lot of color lines, you're gonna see that pigment in the bowl and it might freak out your client a little bit. So sometimes even just having that conversation with your client of like, wow, it looks so red, and making even a joke about it helps kind of put them at ease sometimes when they're internally thinking in their head, oh my gosh, what is my stylist putting on my hair? You can then explain how hair color works and how it processes so that they are more involved in the process. I think clients really enjoy being involved in the process and hearing how things work and understanding it a little bit. Not that we need to go super in depth of like the chemistry of the formulation, but I think it is kind of fun for them to understand, oh, I'm putting red on your hair, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the color that it turns out. So just kind of a fun conversation starter with your clients, and it's also helpful to put them at ease as they're sitting in their chair, possibly freaking out a little bit inside. Now you can see on the sides, I am over directing it back a little bit just to keep it clean so it's not laying in front of her. And again, I'm just kind of looping it around this clip to keep it nice and clean out of the way. I'm gonna finish up that last side and then we're gonna be done with the application.
I feel it too. You might be the one that truly got me. I
right, so we just finished the application. So just to remind you, a little recap, we did the roots, first formula number 1. Then we went in and did those panels right through, diagonal backs through the sides and through the back. And then we just went through and applied our third formula through the rest of the hair. Now, again, when I was first starting out as a stylist, or I was in the salon and I had to do a color like this where there's dark red color all over the place, it's permanent color, it can feel intimidating. And I hope that this helped break it down for you to let you know it doesn't have to be intimidating and you can do it while you're being really clean. Obviously that comes with time and practice, and you'll learn kind of what works best for you, but I hope that this application will make it easier for you in the salon and breaks it down so it's a lot less overwhelming. So what we're gonna do is, because this is all permanent color, we're gonna let her process for 30 minutes, the time that should normally process for, and then we'll wash it out. Okay, so we're gonna rinse out her hair, and when I have a client that either is a dark root touch-up or a redhead client, I always like to go in and get the color off the hairline before we do anything. So what I'll do is I'll usually just kind of rinse my gloves, get them a little bit wet, and then I'll go in and just kind of massage out the hairline. Now what I'm doing is I'm literally using the color that we have on her scalp already to pull the color up off the hairline and remove the staining. So I'm just literally massaging it out. And this is a tip that I learned early on as a stylist, and it changed the game. Sometimes you might just go ahead and rinse the color without doing this step, and you get a lot of staining, or it's really hard to rinse it really good. So I'll just go in, massage it out, no shampoo, nothing, just maybe a little bit of water on my gloves, and it really makes a big difference when it comes to rinsing the hair. And sometimes I'll even just kind of do it right on the scalp as well. Because she has a lot of color in her head, I'll just kind of do a quick little massage that helps just kind of lift it up off the scalp. Now we'll go in with the water, and while the water's warming up, I'm just gonna start rinsing her ends. It's gonna be a while for her to rinse this color because there's so much color in it. So we'll just rinse these ends while I'm letting it warm up. Might as well use that water, and then we'll go in and actually rinse it off the scalp. Okay, so now that the water is warm, I've asked my client if it feels good. I'm gonna rinse off my glove once again so it's nice and clean. And I'm gonna take my hand and lock it in over her ear and just come over and start to rinse the color. Now, a lot of times I'll just let it just rinse it out. And I can even take my other fingers and massage out that color on that hairline. And as you can see, it starts to lift off pretty easily. Barely any staining at all. Sometimes I'll even put this nozzle down, massage it out again, come back in here, rinse, rinse, rinse. And you can see it literally came off her skin. There's a little extra color there that I have to get with the towel, but it's coming off pretty easily. So same thing on this side. I'll just use the nozzle to kind of rinse it really well. So before I even continue to rinse the rest of her scalp, I'm going to just take a towel. I got it a little bit wet on the corner there, and just wipe off the color so that we don't get any extra staining. But look at that, very clean hairline, hardly any staining at all. It really helps with that color protection from frame art, the dye defender, and also that massaging technique really works really well. So now that her hairline's all nice and clean, we'll go in and continue to rinse the rest of the head. I think it would look so good. Oh my God. All right, so this is our final result. Oh my gosh, I love how it turned out. I think it's so gorgeous and looks amazing on her skin tone. As you can see, we've got that deep red in there, and then you can see the little pops of those ribbons of that brighter color. It really helps having those existing highlights in there that really help those little pieces pop. I just think it looks so fun, so shiny and healthy, and I love how this one turned out. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I am so happy with how her hair color turned out. It's crazy to me to see the difference that you can make from just an all over red color and how you can add in those little pops of fun color in there to add something a little extra special for your clients. As always, if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do it right now, because every single week I bring you brand new videos, from hair techniques to business advice, Instagram tips. I have it all for you. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button now. And if you found this video helpful, please come on over to Instagram and send me a DM. I love hearing from you, how much my videos have been helpful for you, and I'd love to hear what kind of videos you want to see from me in the future. So please come send me a little DM. And lastly, because you have watched this video all the way up until this point, I have a free gift for you. So if you are like most hairstylists and struggle with writing Instagram captions, or think at the end of the long day, the last thing you want to do is write a caption for your Instagram, I actually am going to give you 10 free Instagram captions. That's right, your next 10 Instagram posts are written for you. And all of these captions are literally designed to help turn lurking followers into clients. If you want that free gift, you can click the link down below in the description and I'll send it right over to you. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.